Hey everybody. In class today we worked on converting fractions into decimals using long division, but tonight we're going to do the opposite. We're going to learn how to write decimals as fractions, or sometimes they come out as mixed numbers. So the first type of decimal we're going to look at is terminating decimals. Remember, terminating decimals are decimals that do not go on forever. They eventually end. So you see, if we look down here at our three examples, we have three terminating decimals. They do not repeat. So terminating decimals, we just use the place value as the denominator. So like this first one, our place value is in the hundredths. That's as far as it goes. So our denominator will be 100. Another way to think of that is that the number of decimal places tells you the number of zeros in the denominator. So we have two decimal places, we'll have two zeros. So let's see how that looks. Our first example, we got 0.64. Like I said earlier, this goes to the hundredths place. So our fraction is actually going to be 64 over 100. And if you notice, remember we said if there are two decimal places, like there are in 64, 1, 2, we have two zeros in our denominator. So we have a fraction here, but we always want to make sure that our fractions are written in simplest form. And to do that, I need to find a number that I can divide both 64 and 100 by evenly. So I know 4 goes into 64 and 4 goes into 100, so I can divide both of these by 4. Now 64 divided by 4 gives us 16. 100 divided by 4 gives us 25. And I look at these two numbers now. So this is my new fraction. I simplified it. I want to know if I can simplify it any further, but I don't think I can divide these two numbers by the same thing. So this is our final answer, our simplest form, the fraction of 0.64. Now we're going to do the same thing for example B. Now this problem, this decimal here only goes to the tenths place, so our fraction is going to be 6 over 10. And I can divide both of those by the same number. I can divide both of those by 2. So we end up with 3 over 5. That one was pretty short. Now our final example here, 0.275. This is a little trickier. Got a longer number. Here we have the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place, 0.275. So fractions be 275 over 1,000. And just like we said earlier, when we look at our decimal places, 1, 2, 3, we have 3 zeros in the denominator. Now we have to simplify. This is tricky. Now I know 5 goes into 275 because it ends in a 5. And it goes into 1,000 because it ends in a 0. So I'm going to have to do 275 divided by 5 quick. 5 goes into 27 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. We subtract, I get 2. Bring the 5 down. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 25, subtract, and we have 0. So this is going to equal 55, and I know 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. Ooh, and it turns out I can divide both of these by 5 again. So let's do it again. And we get 55 divided by 5 is 11, and 200 divided by 5 is 40. So there we have this one. This one took a little bit longer because we had bigger numbers, but all we have to do is write it with the right denominator and then simplify it, and we can get our answer. Now, when we have decimals that start with a number other than a 0, when we have a 0 to the left of the decimal point, we have to use mixed numbers because here we actually have some whole numbers. Right here we have 6 wholes, and then we have 0.3 as the decimal. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to change that decimal into a fraction. 3, we have 0.3, 3 is in the tenths place, so our fraction is going to be 3 tenths. And I'm looking at these two numbers, 3 and 10. I can't divide them by the same number, so we can't simplify that. So now we just have to bring down the whole number to be part of our mixed number. 6 and 3 tenths is 6.3 written as a mixed number, right? Not too bad. Same thing if in example E here, we have 12.75. Now some of you might know this already off the top of your head, but let's go through the steps here. Now this number here, 0.75, goes to the hundredths place, so our fraction is going to be over 100, 75 over 100. Now, I can divide both of these by 25, and I wind up with 75 divided by 25 is 3, 100 divided by 25 is 4, 3/4, right? 0.75, 3/4. We've seen that before. Now, I just have to bring down my whole number, 12. 12.75 is the same as 12 and 3/4. So that's how we turn decimals into fractions and mixed numbers. Just keep an eye on the decimal places, and that will tell you all about the denominator.